because sometimes the most effective workouts were the ones where you felt the least amount of work done. Stop thinking that sweating is actually an indication that your workout was very effective. Things like sweating or after the workout you feel dead, you feel beat up, you can't walk anymore, you feel exhausted. All those things, yes, they can indicate that a workout was effective, but if they don't exist, it doesn't mean your workout was a waste of time. In fact, have you ever thought that if you do feel beat up after a workout, even though it may feel like you were productive in the gym, that sometimes feeling beat up all the time can actually be a bad thing? So instead of focusing on all these external signals, I'm going to tell you exactly how you can find out whether your workout was effective. And that's to know whether what you did in the gym actually moved you closer to your goal. So being a gym bro, your main goal is probably to get swole, to get huge, and to get shredded. Which means each set that you did do, was it actually promoting muscle gain? Like, were you actually stimulating the muscle building pathways? Or were you just doing it without much thought and just hoping that you did sweat, because sweating indicates an effective workout? So if your goal is to get as huge as possible, we need to do the right amount of work. The work, as I've explained a lot of times on my channel, is basically how many sets times how many reps times how much weight you've done. But we're just going to look at the sets section for now. And so the amount of sets you did, or the amount of work did you do, was it too little to build muscle? Was it too much where you're just doing unnecessary additional excess? Or was it in that right sweet spot for you to build muscle? So as a beginner, when you first start in the gym, each muscle group or the muscle groups that you want to get huge in, which once again, when you're a beginner, should be all the major muscle groups like the hamstring, quads, chest, back, so on and so forth. For each one, you should be doing around 10 sets per week per muscle group. As you progress and become more experienced, that can go all the way up to 20 and possibly even more. So if you were to go into the gym, use drop sets, use supersets, one after another, wait only 5 seconds between sets, rotate exercises, and at the end of the workout, you finished everything in 40 minutes, like you've compressed an hour 30 session into 40 minutes, you're sweating, you're huffing and puffing, you feel dead, your legs can't walk after the leg session. You think it's an amazing workout, you've smashed out all your goals in literally half the time. Because doesn't it mean if your legs are struggling to walk, that means you've maximized the muscle gain potential, and now that like they're struggling to walk? And isn't sweating just your fat crying? Well, let's first consider your legs being dead, or you feel so sore you can't even walk. You probably did too many sets, and most of the end sets were just junk volume, were unnecessary. Because by the time you did half the sets or 3/4 of the sets, you already maximized the amount of muscle you could build for that session. And any additional work or additional sets that you did, that was just bringing unnecessary fatigue that your body now needs to recover from. Think of it like this. If there wasn't a limit to how much muscle you could build per session, then people would be spending 5 hours in the gym accumulating 5 hours of gains, and then everyone would be walking around like bodybuilders. So ultimately, there's a cap to how much you can build or how many sets you need to actually build muscle. So let's just say you've progressed at the beginner stage, and you know what, you're starting to hit the intermediate stage, and per week you need 14 sets for your quads, and you have 2 leg sessions, so 14 divided by 2. On each leg day you do 7 sets of quads. That's how much you need to build muscle. Now if you were to do 4, most likely you're not doing enough to stimulate muscle growth, which isn't as bad as doing 12, because if you were to do 12, after 7, all those extra sets, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, your body has already been signaled to actually repair the muscles and build muscle after the 7 sets, because it received a robust stimulus. Now from the 7th set onwards, all of that additional work that you did, all those additional sets, all this gruesome pain that you thought will actually reward you, well, unfortunately it won't, because it will just be additional fatigue that now your body has to recover from. And now it has to distribute its own resources, which is the food, which is food in this case. You know, you've got your carbs, your proteins, you're fueling yourself up. Those resources, it's gonna need to distribute it to both recovering from that additional work that you did and also building muscle. So to build muscle and to recover, it needs to distribute, which means in the end, it will actually end up building less muscle. Not to mention, after you start hitting the 8th, 9th, 10th set where you start getting super fatigued, most likely your risk of injury just goes up exponentially. So by knowing that amount of work that you need to do to achieve your goal, that's the best way of knowing whether your workout was effective. Not whether you were sweating during your workout, whether you felt super exhausted after a workout, or whether you just feel dead and beat up. Because sometimes the most effective workouts were the ones where you felt the least amount of work done, or the least exhausted, or the least sweat, because possibly it was a deload. That's all, boys. May the gains be with you, and see you in the next one.